Because Halloween is just around the corner, and we have a sequel coming out, Dr. Sleep, I thought this would be the perfect time to revisit The Shining. Let's take a look. Hey guys, welcome back. My name is Brandon, aka the BrandoCritic, and on this channel it's my job to point you in the direction of movies worth checking out. So if that interests you, definitely hit the subscribe button. And today I'm here to tell you if The Shining is still worth a watch today. So let's look at the story. So in The Shining we have Jack Torrance, played by Jack Nicholson, and he is a school teacher turned writer who agrees to be the winter caretaker for the Overlook Hotel. A hotel up in the mountains near Denver, Colorado that closes down every winter because the roads are almost impossible to travel on in the snow. Which is good news for Jack because a winter in complete isolation means more time for writing. And along for the adventure is Jack's wife Wendy, played by Shelley Duvall, and their son Danny, played by Danny Lloyd. So Jack Nicholson plays a character named Jack, and Danny Lloyd plays a character named Danny, and Shelley Duvall plays a character named Wendy. So close. Things start to get fishy though when the manager of the hotel tells Jack of one of the previous caretakers of the hotel, Charles Grady, who had a bad case of cabin fever and killed his family and himself. Things don't get any better when Danny starts having premonitions about the hotel back at home. We also learn that Danny, along with the head chef of the hotel, has this mysterious telepathic ability.
She called it shining.
We learn that the hotel has a shine to it too, allowing it to show many of its memories, some good and some bad. The three of them, along with Danny's imaginary friend Tony, must embrace the harsh Colorado winter as the hotel continues to shine and Jack dives further and further towards insanity. So is The Shining still worth a watch today? Yes, absolutely. But I should be real with you guys. I watched this movie again with one of my buddies, and I'd only seen it once, and I wasn't really scared of it. This movie never gave me nightmares. But watching it again, we were definitely laughing out loud through many moments of the movie because this movie is very, very unsettling. It wasn't a type of laughter that was just like, oh my god, like this movie is hilarious, there's lots of jokes in it, or this movie is so terrible we're laughing at it. We're just laughing because we're like, what the fuck is going on screen? So yes, we were laughing, but this is a very unsettling movie, and I just reviewed Joker not too long ago, and you can find that review right here, and I used that word a lot. This movie, exactly the same thing. I'm going to use the word unsettling a ton in this review, so just keep that in mind. And there's many elements that add to its unsettling tone, and the first one is the Overlook Hotel itself. Right from the very, very beginning, it has a long shot just going over this highway, over this lake, I think it's in Montana, just to show you that yes, this hotel is far away from any other sort of civilization. And over the first 40 minutes of the movie, the film just keeps on reassuring you that this hotel is massive, it's empty, the Torrances are completely isolated, there is no one else around. And why is that so scary? Well, as any human being will tell you, you are the most vulnerable when you are alone. No one is coming to help you, no one is coming to save you, you are all alone in this hotel. Now, normally with horror movies, a lot of the shots are really tight, right? On the camera, really, really tight angles, doesn't really show you around the characters too much, and because of that, we're wondering, what's that scary thing that's gonna happen right off camera, right? You know, if the camera is just super, super close, is there a slasher villain just right over here waiting to kill me? Who knows? But in The Shining, everything is shot with a wide angle lens. Almost everything. And that just shows you that, yes, this hotel is huge. The characters almost get sucked up in the emptiness of the hotel. And that's just to reassure you that, yes, the Torrances are the only ones in this hotel. That when someone does appear, that's when you know that, okay, something is really going down and it is quite unnerving. That's why the famous shot of Danny riding the bike, turning the corner, and those girls are there is so famous, because we know that no one else is in this hotel. And then you just see these two girls just show up out of nowhere, and you're like, what the fuck is going on? And to add on to the mysterious nature of the hotel, it's that supernatural element. Now, movies can have supernatural elements all the time. You know, we have science fiction and fantasy movies, but sometimes supernatural elements will show up in comedies, right? Like we have Liar Liar, we have 13 Going on 30. You know, there's no explanation of why Jim Carrey can't lie. There's no explanation why Jennifer Garner just turned up to be 30 years old after wishing it in her closet. You know, there's no explanation for it, but we don't need one because it doesn't serve that movie. But in this movie, we don't get an explanation about what The Shining really is. Why Danny can, you know, sense these things, and why the hotel is able to show these things also. So that just adds another layer of just that something just doesn't feel right. It's not explained to us. Why does the hotel have this ability to show these things to the characters? Just that uncertainty of not knowing the hotel's true power is, you guessed it, unsettling. Now, you know who is really unsettling in this movie? Jack Nicholson as Jack Torrance. Now, with other horror movies, you have Freddy Krueger, Jason, Michael Myers. They're these masked guys that kill our heroes, right? Or at least attempt to. But with Jack Torrance, he's just some teacher. He's just some guy, right? He has no supernatural powers. He doesn't, have the ability to come back to life and haunt you in your dreams. He is just a deranged man. But what makes him really scary is that he decides to harm his family. He is a father, he is a husband, and his victims are going to be his wife and his child. The direct connection of the characters is being torn apart by the hotel. And speaking about our characters, what's funny is, I didn't even know this. I was just doing some research of the movie. Shelley Duvall was nominated for a Razzie Award in this movie. Now, I understand it. Taken out of context, just looking at her performance, and especially if you are just, used to watching horror movies like It, or Paranormal Activity, or The Grudge, or Saw, or whatever, and then seeing that performance, and you're going, okay, this is pretty cheesy. However, when you take a step back, and you understand that this movie is about this hotel having this ability to test the sanity of all its inhabitants, the characters start to go crazier and crazier and crazier and crazier. And Stanley Kubrick would shoot each scene and each shot take after take after take after take, and just the actors of having to act the same scene over and over and over and over again, their acting techniques started to become less conventional, and the actors really did start to go fucking nuts. And you totally see that. You really do feel like Shelley Duvall is absolutely terrified in these scenes, which just makes this movie just so much more scary and powerful. And that's just a little slice of Stanley Kubrick's direction in this movie. He does two things that I want to mention here that are so unconventional that just adds to the unease that the audience has when watching this movie. For example, normally in horror movies when something scary happens, they show it happen and then the reaction happens and you're like, oh God! And sometimes it's, the guy walking down the woods and boom! It's startling, it's scary. But in The Shining, they show the reaction before what the people are reacting to. Check out this scene, for example. That entire time when you focus on Danny's face, you're like, what's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? What's going to happen? It just draws you in. And then when you see what he's actually looking at, it's just two little girls. But again, this movie has shown you time and time again that there's nobody in the hotel. Who are these two little girls? And again, out of context, it's not that scary. It's not Linda Blair in The Exorcist with the devil face, but just the unease that this movie creates. It's so wonderful. It draws you in like crazy. And another thing that he does is just extremely bizarre, in my mind at least, is that of course they'll have little text that shows up on the screen to kind of like break up the scenes, and that's happened in movies before. But what I find funny is like it starts off like normal, the interview, right, or the hotel or whatever it says, but then I'll just show like Tuesday or whatever day of the week it is. It's like we don't really need to know what day of the week it is, we don't really need to know what time of day it is, but just putting them into the movie, just bow, 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 or on all the crazy sound effects, and I'll get to the music in just a second. We don't really need that information, but just a jolt to the pacing like that just, again, makes us really uneasy, and it's extremely unsettling. And the last way that this movie makes it an extremely unsettling experience, but a great one, is the music. Now, I won't tell you about the music, here, just listen.
What?
You would never hurt Mom or me, would you?
What do you mean?
And while yes, Jack and Danny are discussing a subject matter that is not the most joyous or cheerful, but the music just adds to the emotion of the scene and makes us feel just so uneasy. And it's like that throughout the entire movie. So if you don't like creepy music, then The Shining isn't for you. However, if you like a movie that will draw you in and will constantly keep you guessing to what's going to happen next with its uneasy and unsettling tone, then The Shining is definitely worth a watch this Halloween. I'm going to give The Shining a 4 out of 5. I really liked this movie, and I'm not a big horror fan. You know, I'm not a really big fan of movies that really just rely on jump scares and the subject matter of like the demonic and heaven and hell and that kind of stuff. I'm not a really big fan of that, and I do find that stuff quite terrifying when they bring the biblical stuff into it. But The Shining, it's scary enough, but it's also extremely well made, and it has this ability to suck you in. For my Halloween viewing experience, this is gonna be a classic for years to come. And I cannot wait for Dr. Sleep. Anyways guys, tell me down in the comment section down below, have you seen The Shining? What did you think about it? And what is your favorite Stephen King adaptation to film or TV? Whatever it is, let me know down in the comment section down below. And like I said in the beginning, if you're new to this channel and you wanna see more videos like this, definitely hit subscribe, and thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful Halloween.